Welcome to episode 39 of Run It Straight, where we answer your questions about how to get better at rugby league. We don't sidestep the difficult topics, but rather give direct, straight up answers. In essence, we run it straight. First question, what's a good diet to lose weight? I had a big thing on this, but how about you have a go on this one?
Alrighty, the best diet there is,
Best.
no matter who you are,
Number one.
best diet is something that puts you in a calorie deficit.
That is it, the magical diet that everyone's looking for.
Something that you get enough protein in, anywhere between 1.6 and 2.4 grams per kilo.
That's it.
And something that is sustainable, something you can adhere to, something that you're not going to go off track every week, every weekend, every couple of days, something that you're going to be able to do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. That's it. That's the best diet.
So what we do, you want to lose weight, we pick a calorie target. Let's just pick for random, let's just say it's 1,800 calories a day. And then we use an app called MyFitnessPal so you can track it, so you've actually got an idea what you're eating. You put your 1,800 calories in. You can go into the target section, you put 1,800, then you put your protein, 1.6 to 2.4, let's just say 2 grams. You put that in, and then the other percentages, you mix between carbohydrate and fat. Don't lower your fat below 20%. And then to start with, eat essentially whatever you want, provided you meet the calorie target and you meet the protein goal. That's what you need to do. Because by meeting the protein goal, that's already going to make sure that you're eating certain foods you're going to have to put in. And then once you hit that, because you've already used up a certain amount of your calories, you can't just go and eat KFC. But it does allow you to eat some of the foods that you like. We could have, particularly these days in Sydney and in footy, we could have a team with 8 different nationalities, and they're all going to eat different things naturally, culturally, when they're at home. Mum at this house makes this, dad at this house makes this. It's completely different. So this allows you the flexibility. You can eat those things within reason, just hit your calorie targets. There's no magical things. And then you've got to track what you're doing. You've got to track your weight. Although, what did he say? Did he say looking to
lose weight?
Looking to lose weight. We don't like to use that word as much as we do lose body fat, because weight can fluctuate significantly depending on a whole range of things. You could step on the scales and be 100 kilos. And then you could, and let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're at 100, 100, 100, and you're like, okay, I need to create a small calorie deficit, whatever. But you might have something particularly salty on Wednesday night, and then you step on the scales on Thursday morning, and you're now at 102.3 kilos. We've seen that happen a lot. We see it happen with clients all the time. We see it happen with boys in the program all the time. So you need to be weighing yourself. It's an indicator, but it's not the only indicator. This is why we do use skin folds. But if you are using weight, you just need to make sure that you're aware of your hydration level, your carbohydrate level, your sodium levels. If you're taking supplement, creatine is going to affect your weight as well. Anything else there that well, like we said. Okay, actually, no, there is something that I want to put in. Resistance training. So, number 1, you need to create a calorie deficit. Number 2, you need to eat a sufficient amount of protein. And number 3, you must be performing resistance training minimum 2 days per week. Resistance training will have a muscle sparing effect. So if we have person A and person B, and they both lose 5 kilos, one of them's performing resistance training and hitting their protein goal and the other one's not. Because they're in an equal calorie deficit, they'll both lose the 5 kilos. But the person who's lifting weights and who's eating a higher amount of protein, they may lose 4 kilos or even 5 kilos of fat. The other person's probably going to be half and half. They might lose 1 kilo, 2 kilos of muscle, and maybe 2 or 3 kilos of body fat, okay? Which you end up with a very, very big difference. So calorie deficit, then beneath that, hit your protein goal, which is 1.6 to 2.4 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, and perform resistance training at least 2 days per week. Anything else? That's it?
No, as simple as it is.
All right. Let's jump on to that next question, shall we? Does weight matter if you are fit? Yes. Weight does matter. This is a little bit related to the other one, isn't it? I'm assuming from this question that you mean that you think that you're fit, but that your body weight is heavier than what it should be. That's the assumption we're making. Again, like we often say, please give us a little bit more detail in the question, but we're assuming that that's what it is, that you feel that you're heavier than you should be, but that your fitness is at a decent level. Yes, it does matter a lot. If you're heavier than you should be, and you can still be fit enough to play well, and that's great, but let's make something clear. If your body fat level is at the optimal level, you're going to perform much, much better than you would if you're carrying too much. And too much, it does depend significantly on your playing position. I think we've got on the grading grid, what have we got as optimal for middles? Is it 15%?
NRL, 15%.
15% is at the NRL level. You want to be looking at getting your body fat to 15%. I think for other positions in the back line and whatnot, we're looking at getting under 12. Okay, so there is a sizable difference between 15% and between 12%. But I get the feeling from this question that you're probably sitting above 20, in which case, yes, you're fit, that's good, get your body fat down. I got some more, but you want to jump in here?
Yeah, well, adding on to that, if you're fit, great. If you are on the heavier side, even if you lost a couple kilos, imagine how much more fitter you could be. That's 3, 4, 5 kilos.
Yeah, just from the fitness point of view, that's the first thing.
Yep.
Secondly, if we look at the reason that this is an issue is anytime you take a hit up or anytime you move up in the defensive line, you need to accelerate from a dead start into max speed, max velocity. If you're carrying excess body fat, so we're not saying body fat because there should be a normal amount that you're having, but if you're carrying excess body fat, A, you're going to be slower when you accelerate when you're running the ball or when you're moving up in defence, and B, you're going to use more energy. So you're going to gas out a lot quicker on the field. So instead of having a good 18 to 20 minute stint, you maybe only a 15 minute stint. Or maybe you can't last the full half and you need to come off when there's 7 or 8 minutes left, because every single movement you do, whether you're accelerating, you're decelerating, you're changing direction, you're getting up off the ground after making a tackle or after performing a tackle, you're using more energy. So you want to get to an optimal level of leanness. Just saying, oh, well, I'm fit. And when we use the word fit, we were talking about this the other day. Fit can mean a lot of things. If you're watching, let's say you watch NRL 360 or you read some news articles, and you could be, maybe you're watching the footy on Channel 9 or Fox or whatever it is, and you'll hear the commentators or maybe a coach say that so-and-so player isn't fit. That could mean one of two things. It could mean your turbo and they're referring to your hamstring, because that's always seem to be getting... So when they're talking about fit with him, they're talking about, or with certain people, they're talking about, are they injured or are they fit to play? Can the body stand up to the rigours of playing a game right now? Okay, that's what that means. So they're not fit. They haven't passed their fitness test. The second thing is, are they cardiovascularly fit? Some people, there's no injury, their body composition levels, so their body fat levels are at a good level, but they just haven't done it. Maybe they've been recovering from an injury and they couldn't run, so their cardiovascular fitness isn't quite where it needs to be. But more commonly, probably the most commonly termed when they say someone's not fit, they don't want to come out and say it, but what they mean is the player's fat. Yes?
Yes.
So we're not going to mention any players, but there's probably a bunch that you could think of that are at clubs, and you will see commentators and coaches, journalists saying that such and such isn't fit, such and such isn't fit. And you can watch the players when they run out, when they're, just standing around the defensive line. It could be after a try or whatever, and you'll see all of these trim taut physiques with everyone in good shape, and then you see the guy who's got a belly hanging out over his shorts. That's the guy who's not fit. So again, without the detail, that makes it hard for us in there to assess exactly what it is that you're talking about. But yes, look, being fit, absolutely brilliant. If you're heavy or heavier than you should be, that is going to make things harder. Anything else?
No, obviously it is a yes. Like, it does matter. It definitely does matter. Yeah. Again, if you do drop a couple kilos, if you are on the heavier side, you'll be moving around a lot easier. You'll be lasting longer at the games. So answering the question, does it matter? 100% yes.
Yes from him, yes from me. All right, last question. Does playing up an age for club footy affect me getting picked in my local rep team? I haven't talked to you about this.
No, this is going to be interesting.
Well, my answer is it may. There's benefits to playing up, and there's benefits to playing your own age. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, how about we get your take on this before I jump in?
Okay, so there's two thoughts here. Yeah. Someone can automatically go into a higher age group and think that they're going to get preferenced over someone else playing the right age, and that's just simply not the case. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is, if you're playing your own age, playing up an age, you just want to be playing good, consistent footy. That's the only thing. Yep. And again, that doesn't matter if you're playing Division 1 your own age, Division 2 up an age, or even Division 1 up an age as well. As long as you're playing good footy, you know, you're making good efforts. Playing up an age doesn't really affect you. As long as you're playing good, you'll be scouted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, look, okay, a couple of things to keep in mind. Is your goal to become the best rugby league player that you possibly can, or is your goal to develop, or is your goal to make a rep side? Because sometimes those two things, they can be aligned and they can be the same, and sometimes they're not. So let me phrase it like this. If playing up an age group is what's best for your development, then yes, I would say play up. If it's going to make you a better footballer, because by playing up an age group, you know, there's the old saying of if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? And that you are who you hang around. By playing up an age group, it's going to be bigger, faster, stronger. It's going to be at a higher level than what you're used to. And if you're physically capable of handling that, then you're going to benefit from playing at that level. You're going to become a better player. But if you're not quite physically ready, maybe you're a really skillful player, but you know you're a little bit behind on the speed, or you're just not as big, or whatever it is. Playing up is not going to benefit you at all. No. So what's implied, I guess, is you're concerned about getting picked from the age above because you may be overlooked. If you are playing up, there is a real possibility that you could get overlooked. We've mentioned this, one of the previous episodes might have been last week, about how when the scouts come out to a team, they're coming out and they're looking at particular players. Now, if you're playing up, the scouts for a particular age group may not be looking at you. So there is a chance that you may miss out. Yes? True?
That is true.
Yeah, you can kind of fall off the radar a little bit. So I would say if making the rep side is your number one priority right now, playing your own age is probably going to be a little bit more advantageous. If developing your game is the main priority, and if you're physically capable of doing it, playing up may be the right priority. But look, I mean, I would say unless you're just a wrecking ball forward where you're running over the top of people, for the most Division 1 comps are pretty strong. Yeah. I don't see any reason why you need to play up. Oftentimes what we find is, you know, there might be a kid who from under 9s has played up with all of his mates at school. He's young for his age and he wants to play with them, and so he's played under 10s, and then he gets to an age of 13s, 14s, 15s, he's like, oh, do I stay with my mates that I've played with all these years, or do I go back to my age group? And I would say, look, if you want to make the rep side, probably go back to your age group. But if that's not what your focus is, if it's just to get minutes under your belt, just to play, to try to adapt to a higher level, then you can play up. Anything else you want to?
Oh, I just think that, you know, if you're going to be playing in a year up just because you think you're going to get preference just because you're playing in the year up, it doesn't work. I think you'd have to rethink that decision. Yeah. But in saying that, the biggest thing is you have to play good footy to be looked at in any capacity and make sure it's consistent.
Yeah, I think oftentimes we get a lot of questions on this. There's too much focus on how can I make this team, how can I make that team, rather than how can I actually develop into the best footballer that I can be. And then there's things that you can do to put yourself in those positions. Because there isn't a hack to making reps, and if I make reps, you know, maybe then I'll get really good, and maybe then I'll make the NRL, which is what everyone's thinking. And it's like, dude, if you're not in the top 3 players in your team right now, then forget about all of those things and just think about how can I get to being in the top 3 players in my team. If you get to being one of the top 3 players in your team, then you've got a chance of making reps. So sometimes you're putting the cart before the horse. Yeah? Yeah. All right, that's the end of that episode. So please like, comment. What was the other one? Subscribe, yes. Please subscribe. A lot of people who watch it aren't subscribed. We're really trying to grow our following so we can help more people. Please subscribe. Go to Instagram, follow us there. If you do have any questions, put them in the comments, or you can direct message us on Instagram as well. Is there anything else that I should have mentioned on that?
No, just no question's a dumb question.
Yeah, no questions.
Don't be afraid.
Please give us a little bit more information. A little bit more context around the question, because then we can really specifically help you. I've said it on other episodes, if you don't want us to use the question, but you actually just send a question send a DM, and I will answer your question personally, because that's why we open the academy. We want to help people out, make them as good footballers as they can be. That's the end of the episode. We'll see you in the next one.